1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah.
When two minds come together, a third is created,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the mastermind. That's the collaboration. It's about ideas and sparking ideas, but it's also about implementers versus creators versus whatever as well. I think it's I don't know. It goes back to me. It's like being asked, well, why do you always think you need to somebody to collaborate with on things? You can do this on your own. Well, yeah, but I don't want to, number one. And number two, I wouldn't get the ideas I'm going to get from whoever I'm collaborating with. So, I mean, yeah, you could put me in a vacuum and I could create ideas all day, but who
That's a
cares?
good example. That's a good example of the end doesn't justify the means for you, right? So not everybody wants to collaborate, or not everybody shines in collaboration. You do, and you've decided that's happy and fun for me.
Yeah.
So I get the most benefit out of it from my value proposition as a person. And ultimately, synergistically, that collaboration makes something better than I could have done by myself.
Mm-hmm.
It goes
And,
back
and
to
I,
the chicken or the egg. Yeah, I think for you and what you're saying, and I've heard you say this a lot, and it kind of points to I'm happy and I'm having fun when I collaborate. Period.
yeah, for sure. It's I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with a good analogy for it one day. But when I'm in my own space, my own head, my whatever, my thoughts are flying, bouncing, whatever. So for me, it's the ADD, it's the this, it's the that. But when I have another person, it helps me focus, right? I mean, you guys see my ADD even when I'm here with you guys, bouncing off the walls and playing the ABC song and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Like I still go there, but I come back. But it's that helps me focus in. And I have often wondered how many people are out there that are having this same kind of thoughts that Daryn brought up today about the fact that, I've got this, I know this would be awesome, but I have no idea where to start. I used to ask around, I forget who I asked at one point. I was looking for like, is there a website I can go to? Is there this, is there that I can find people that want to collaborate, right? Because at that point, it didn't have that in my world. Now I
Right.
do. Not
You
because I
created that.
didn't think not because I needed more ideas necessarily, but I needed somebody, either somebody to challenge them, or maybe to say, well, all you got to do is this, and oh, I never thought of that, right? Um, so I just think I don't know. I think it's a missing link, at least in my world, and you guys may agree or disagree with me, and I think it depends on behavioral styles and all of that. But that I think there are people out there that have amazing ideas, right? It could be the post-it thing. There's the extremes. There's the what's her name that created Spanx.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of her name. She
That
wouldn't
chick
tell.
that created Spanx.
She wouldn't tell anybody her idea
Yeah.
because she didn't want anybody to talk her out of it. She knew
Mm-hmm.
it would work, right? And until it was ready to go and everything else, then she started telling
There's
people
somebody
about it.
who decided being happy and fun didn't mean collaboration for her. So
Right.
it's not the act of collaboration here. It's the act of being happy and fun. You could have a brainstorming session with yourself and
Mm-hmm.
have that be happy and fun,
Sure.
where I might shine a little bit brighter there as opposed to collaborating with another person. So yeah, so for her it was get centered with my own idea quietly and build it. Right? The reason why you and I have decided that it would be a shit show if we just had a conversation here, right? We need someone to kind of keep this stuff in line, and it has to be somebody that's objective, and the rules are focused on pulling it back to the audience, because all of a sudden you and I don't give a shit about the audience. We just care about what we're saying, and we're
Right.
just throwing ideas out.
I have another question for you guys. That this comes up when you mentioned the entrepreneurs that don't. Okay, so you've got some people. It's a spectrum. You've got some people don't share their idea with anyone, and there is actually. I recently read this. There is some research that says you're. This was mind blowing to me. I've always read research that says you're most likely to achieve your goals if you share with an accountability partner. But there's conflicting resource that says uh, you're more likely to achieve your goals if you don't tell anyone because it's a you thing. And I think that the reason there is probably partially based on personality, right? Like we said,
Yeah, behavioral.
it's what works
Yeah.
for you. So you get there's a lot of advice out there in the world, unsolicited, solicited, right? There are podcasts like this one that people listen to that tell you what to do. I recently sat in a training in a class with a self-made billionaire, who talked about his habits and systems. And before he started the class, he was like, "What I'm telling you today is how I speak to myself. Everything that you're hearing is what I've wrote down and told myself because it's what worked for me. So I don't want you to listen to this and just take it all for fact. I want you to think about it. What applies to you? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Why do you disagree with it?" Um, he's like, "I'm not trying to convince you that it's right or wrong. I'm just sharing with you what worked for me." That's a big. I was sitting in a room with it was a young professionals event, so people ages 18 to 28. That's a big thing to pose to an 18-year-old, right? It's like you just graduated from high school where you were told everything that you hear is correct and factual and you should listen to it, right? And now I'm telling you, hey, I'm super successful, but I'm not telling you to believe all of this. I'm telling you to create your own filter and determine what you believe. And that's not to say that there aren't facts and there aren't hard truths in the world. I mean, gravity exists. How do we know that? Because we stand up and we stand with 2 feet on the ground.
Every weekend.
All the time. Sometimes I don't stand up. But I guess my question is, what are strategies, or how do we determine what is right for us and what's not? There are patterns in the world, there are truths in the world. How do I know if I'm the person that needs to share with others, or if I keep my $1 million idea to myself?
I think
Go ahead, Matt.
I was gonna say, I think it's like art, right? You put a Picasso on the wall, and you put a Monet on the wall, and you put a Renoir on the wall, and people come along and they look at him, and well, not everybody's gonna like Picasso, right? Some people love Picasso, but some people thought he was nuts, and like that, my child could paint that, right, or whatever. Everybody's different, and so does that mean any of those is less valuable? Does it mean any of those are less artistic, less of a masterpiece? No, but not everybody likes it. And it's the same thing with the information we get, is we know in some ways what is going to fit us, right? I think, but we automatically at times push that away because what we know fits us is going to take us out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. I think it's just being honest. I read something this week. I'm doing a devotional thing on Pentecost, which is when the Holy Spirit descended. And one thing that jumped out at me, that it said you have conversations with the Holy Spirit every day. The Holy Spirit is the one that when you're about to do something that you really shouldn't do, or that you don't want to do, but you're going to do it anyway, like eat the third bowl of banana pudding, for instance, right? My point is that we have that voice. If you want to call it the universe, you want to call it the Holy Spirit, you want to call it whatever it is, right? We just don't listen to it very often, or we think of it as negative self-talk or whatever. But in reality, I think it's pointing to which masterpiece we like.
Yeah.
Right? It's just that we want to do what it takes to obtain it. And what do we need for that? For me, I need collaboration, right? Because that builds up my enthusiasm and my energy and my confidence and everything else, right? Sometimes in ideas, sometimes just because I get out of here, right?
Yeah.
For other people, it may be going inside and getting all that noise shut out because they can focus then on their own ideas. But I don't know, I equate it to art like that.
That's good, and even the Jiminy Cricket conscience kind of thing, where it's gut or intuition or whatever you want to call it. For me, what it points to is just a basic understanding of the mechanics of how our brain works, and the idea of we are hardwired to seek evidence to support our belief, right? If you're walking around the world and don't know that, that's one state of being. If you're walking around the world and know that, that's another state of being, and maybe that's a higher state of being. If you walk around the world and know that and are curious about it, then you go a little bit higher. You could just keep going down that list of getting more expanded into that. And the way I look at it is like, I know that I'm hardwired to seek evidence to support my belief. And I know beliefs are not black and white. They're subjective. Matt believes something else than I do, vice versa. However, we're still in this world together. So it's possible that Matt's belief is false and I'm right. It's possible that vice versa. The point is, are you courageous enough and aware enough to kind of poke around and say, let me think about my belief around this. So if I'm willing to challenge my own belief in all this evidence I'm seeking, then we get a version of what Matt is saying about, he mentioned not all self-talk is negative. Right, it's not. Hardwired wise, most of it is, because we are in a fight, flight, freeze aspect of everything's going to kill me. That is very instinctual. We are not a slave to our instincts anymore as we climb that ladder of consciousness. So for you, that the Holy Spirit or mind in Jiminy Cricket, or Daryn's in accountability coach, all that is a touchstone back to what do you believe, and you're going to seek out more awareness around that. Daryn's might be a better accountability coach.
We're going to gain more awareness from it.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have the courage to do that.
Yeah.
So it's taking that and actually saying, well, first I got to understand the mechanics. Then I got to understand that this is going to be my filter. My filter is, for you, your belief is you work better in collaboration. That's a belief. You could challenge that. And then after you challenge it, which I think you have based on how you work solo, work in a group, work with someone, that you really are on that same level, and you get different results. And then you say, well, I like that result better. Or the result's not good at all, and I'm going to change my belief because I don't need to collaborate. For whatever reason, it's yours over mine, over Daryn's, over anyone else's. But we get to it by being, I'll just go right back to happy and fun. It's going right back to finding the happy and fun.
Well, I got another analogy image pops in my head as an equalizer, right? Like we can all listen to the same piece of music.
Yeah.
But if you put us in 3 separate rooms with an equalizer to adjust the bass, the treble, the mid, all that stuff,
I would have my own. Yeah.
We would each, and so do I need all collaboration? Do I want the bass up
Right.
all? No, I want it here, maybe more than yours, right? Or do I want all the solo high stuff coming out? Well, no, I don't need all of it. I need some of it, right? But it's all different levels for all of us. But it's the same music coming at us.
Bringing it back out in the real world, in your example of the Spanx chick, right? So she kept it inside because she wanted to fertilize it herself. She didn't want anyone else to poison it.
Right.
She figured out how, from a business aspect and entrepreneur, she figured out how to launch it. You can't tell me that there's no collaboration going on right now. You can't tell me that there's not a marketing room and they're sitting around trying to fucking figure out how to get Spanx into everything.
Right.
Right? That's not how she started Spanx, but it's how she needed to foster it, nurture it, and get it out there.
Right.
And that's a success story. I'm sure there's 100 non-success stories, but the point is that if that was her version of fun and happy, great.
Sure.
Do it.
Well, hey, Walt Disney, when he created, I don't know, is that Jiminy Cricket? I don't even know where Jiminy Cricket came from, but Walt Disney, when he created Mickey Mouse, right? He did it probably in his own house in a room somewhere at a desk. He didn't have 5 people going, oh, I think he needs bigger ears, and I think, his tail's too long. He created it, but after he created that iconic image, it went on to, then you need people to create other parts of the cartoon, and then you go on to Disneyland and Disney World and all that stuff. So yeah, it doesn't mean the idea can't be fostered on its own, right? Or not even fostered on its own, but developed or polished or whatever on its own, right? In solitude, and then you collaborate. It all depends. I mean, I would say I work best in solitude after the collaboration, right? It sparks something in me, and that's what gets me going on the.
That's why we meet every other morning. It kind of wraps up all of it in that the example of Spanx and Walt Disney and Mary Poppins.
It's quite a combination.
And bananas.
And bananas. Thanks for listening, and remember, your outside world is an inside job. See you next time. Hey, can we get 2 more over here? Make them doubles.